Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Call of Duty Infinite Warfare Specialist Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Dark Quarry, and it's a pretty interesting mission that actually reminds me of the prequel Star Wars movies. More specifically, is it the planet Mustafa, I think it's called? The one where Anakin and Obi-Wan have the big fight, and it's essentially just a lava planet. Well, for some reason I get massive vibes of that here. And this also has the crematoria effect of the sun is so close at this moment in time that we can actually take damage if we go out into the sunlight. So there's an interesting environmental twist here that makes the game feel a little bit more valid for its space roots. And the level itself is not too long, and it has a single gimmick on this one. If you remember Black Ops 3, there was a level where there was malfunctioning AI, and it sent robots at you who were pretty dangerous. This level does the exact same thing. There has been something that's happened to the artificial security, and they have turned against the humans, so they're going to actively attack us. So there's a lot of tension building on this particular level, and then there is the reveal that it's malfunctioning tech that is the threat. So you're going to be shooting a lot of robots in situations like this one. So this is a situation where I would recommend using the anti-grav grenade, because it does an interesting thing. If you chuck an anti-grav grenade at your feet and you float yourself, the robots don't seem to come and punch you like they tend to do if you just stand there and shoot them. And because they come in grand swathes of numbers, there's a lot to kill, and there can be instances where you will put a full clip into a group of them, and there will be one or two that keep on coming your way. And you can survive a handful of punches, so it's nothing too extreme, but it can get a little hairy, shall we say. So my advice, chuck a grav grenade at your feet, or if you have a shot grenade, chuck it at the enemies. Shot grenades kill massive groups of the robots, they're incredibly good. But if you don't have that, anti-grav yourself, and you can float up and shoot them while they kind of stand there confused at what you've done. And not only will you get a trophy and an achievement, depending on the system you play on, but you'll get out of trouble. There's only one part of this level where I believe that I was in any kind of real trouble, and that's because I was clipping on some NPCs, and I got trapped in a corner. But this is a game where we can double jump, so the ability to double jump is actually quite valuable. And you're going to see me swap out the big gun, which I really don't like, for a shotgun. At the beginning of this mission, you are recommended to take a big gun and a shotgun because, of course, this is close quarters. But I'm not a big fan of shotguns in campaigns. Unless the shotgun has proved to me that it's worth using, I generally don't take them with me. And I don't know if the shotguns in this game are great. They could be, because I didn't give them the benefit of the doubt. But I will always prefer a medium to long range weapon over a close range weapon, especially on a harder difficulty where being close to enemies generally seals your fate. So I generally tend to go towards guns that are not shotguns, but the shotgun does work quite well here, even if it does melt through ammunition and need reloading more times than most. But as you get up to this doorway, if you have an enemy hacking tool, which might be in one of these boxes, you can use it to your advantage to keep hacking the robots and detonating them and getting rid of them before they get close. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this corner here, and I'm going to kind of just defend this area with my weapons and with the grav technology. Because this is specialist, when we take damage, we have to use the stims, so make sure you've got stims on hand, make sure you've got a helmet. You shouldn't have to worry too much about those two things on this level, because I don't think anything shoots you up until the end of it. And if nothing shoots at you, you don't have to worry, I think, about taking too much damage unless they get close. So, for the most, it's a pretty standard mission, and to start it, you have to start the door hack. The moment you touch this door, this place goes to hell, and of course the sun is also going to be here, so do not let it take advantage of you. And the biggest piece of advice I can give for a section like this is to use the NPCs. The computer has a great tendency, that was a mistake by the way, I didn't mean to do that, a great tendency of going for each other. So if you stand next to a friendly, the robots will come and try and pick it up, and they will give you a moment to deal with them. And you can use your buddies as scapegoats to get out of bad situations, because Omar to my left here is proving to be a really good asset because he's distracting things and he's letting me do my job, as this guy gets a little bit too close and I throw the grav grenade, prop him up, go up with him, and then start shooting from up here. And you'll notice the robots just kind of stare at me and they don't do anything. So this is going to be my go-to strategy from this point onwards. And I indeed get an achievement for doing that, because I never did that in my first run apparently. So there is the reward for certain techniques. Which I do like the anti-grav stuff. I think it's a really interesting attribute. It's probably going to make the multiplayer a complete nightmare, but I have no intentions of playing the multiplayer in this game because I think it looks awful. So I'm not going to suffer there. But keep on thinning the numbers, keep an eye on the proximity hack. Once it gets to the top, you can get out of here. I've never found this section to be too difficult. On Veteran, it wasn't too bad because I had the hacking tool, and then on Specialist, it wasn't too bad because the AI were doing exactly what I needed them to do, which is they messed with my team, I used the anti-grav to the best of my ability, and I had a lot of fun. Because I've been quite critical of this campaign. I don't think it's the best campaign in a long while. I think it's very average in a lot of ways, but the second playthrough on Specialist really opened my eyes to the campaign because it made me play it a different way, and it made me appreciate the gunfights a lot more. And I like a game that does that. There can be plenty of experiences you can have with any of modern gaming's offerings where you just don't dig it the same as a lot of other people, and then you come back at it from a different perspective, and you see why people like it. I've injured my arm, by the way, so I cannot shoot correctly with my gun, so I'm going to have to stim. There is the stim, and there is the heal. And you'll notice I've got the trusty Trojan sight so that we can see anybody who's trying to hide from us as we push forward here. And I'm using the Elysium AK space gun. So keep on moving forward. There are some robots here that I believe shoot at you, so you want to keep a good distance from them, and hopefully your team will take the brunt of the force. But keep pushing forward and rely on that Trojan sight. So we've got a minute or two now to talk about some things. I apologise that this video was slightly late, guys. I got this game way later than I should have. It was like 5 days late, so I had almost no time to do anything with it before Dishonored came out, and I've just finished Dishonored's walkthrough. It's going up on the channel today. Hopefully it's going to be successful. People seem to be enjoying the videos that I've shared, and now that that's out of the way I can focus on this one. And I don't know if the draw for Specialist will be all that big. I think the greatest draw will be people looking to see what it is, because it's a strange new difficulty, and it's actually more interesting than some of the difficulties that I've played. But there was a comment on an earlier video which made a great observation, which I touched on a little bit, but I didn't touch on enough and give enough credit, so I'm going to do that now. But the whole idea of your helmet cracking and becoming too damaged to support you, and then removing it and then facing death unless you get a new one, is amazingly reminiscent of the Metro games. If you play the Metro games, to stay alive on the surface you need the filters and you need the mask. Without those two items, you choke to death. And on the harder difficulties, that can be a very, very stern punishment because there isn't as many of the resources and the enemies are way more dangerous. So if you play Ranger mode, where you have the HUD gone, you have all those helpful assets on your UI just removed, you have to do it all by just experience and feel, it can lead to some interesting tense situations, and this game has taken a lot from that game. And then of course it's taken the idea of a stim, which is just a med pack, which Call of Duty had way back in the beginning, back when we used to heal with med packs because everything was reminiscent of Doom and Quake. So that's not necessarily a new technique, but the way that you deliver it is very Bad Company-esque. In Bad Company 1, if you ever played it, when you played the campaign, instead of automatically regenerating your life, you had to hit yourself with an adrenaline syringe. And the syringe was infinite, but it took a while to use it, so you had to use it quite frequently, and it was one of the only ways you could stay alive. And it's an interesting culmination of these concepts put into a game that is nothing like the two references. So I think it works, and I think it's interesting. But once again, I think you're going to get out of this game what you put in. Are you somebody that likes COD campaigns? Are you somebody that likes this future warfare? If not, you probably won't get too much enjoyment out of this. If you're playing for story, you might enjoy the story, or you might hate it like I did. You know, playing Call of Duty for story seems almost as hilarious as playing Call of Duty for campaign, because everybody goes in the multiplayer. But I do think there's something here to like, because I've seen a lot of people who really enjoyed it. Jeff Gerstmann from Giant Bomb really enjoyed the campaign. You know, there are a lot of journalists that I like to see what they're on about and see their opinions, because I respect them, who have said that they enjoyed this year's campaign. So there's definitely something there, guys. Don't just take my word for it, because I didn't find it particularly interesting, that it's a reflection of the game. It's probably more of a reflection of how I feel about the franchise. And somebody asked me in the comments, they asked, do I think that there's going to be legs in this Infinite Warfare universe, and the way they phrased the question was a little bit confusing, because I don't know if they meant the storyline of Infinite Warfare, and is this going to be the beginning of Infinite Warfare 2 and 3, and have it like Black Ops and Modern Warfare before that, or did they mean the idea of warfare in space with future technology? And I'm not entirely sure, guys. I think it could go either way, because the one thing you need to bear in mind as we push up this left corner here, taking down the robots, is that Call of Duty's been going now for a long time. We're looking at 10 years, and there's been something like 12 or 13 COD games, because there's been a lot. And at the moment in time, the dev cycle for these games is 2 years, 2 to 3 years, isn't it? I think they extended it from what it was. I think it was 2 years, and now it's 3 years. And you might be thinking, 3 years between a COD sounds good, because then maybe they'll come back and there'll be hunger for it. But what you don't realise if you've not looked at it, or if you're not aware, is that they have, I think, is it 3 or 4 studios making them? So each of these studios are leapfrogging in such a specific way with the production that there's a new one every year. And the dev cycle on each of these games is slightly longer, so in theory the game should be getting better, but in a lot of people's opinions they're getting worse. So is there life in Infinite Warfare? You will probably find out in 3 years, because next year will be, what is it, Sledgehammer's game, and then the year after that will be Treyarch again. So you're not going to see what Infinity Ward do, or whatever this, I think it's Infinity Ward this time, isn't it? Whatever this team that made this one is going to follow it with until quite a few years, and at that point, do you think that the fatigue is going to be worse? Because I do. I'm fatigued right now. The idea of a COD next year is kind of a no-go for me. I think they should take a break, but you know they've already got one in development, and it's been in development for a while. Because isn't this technically the next one from Ghosts? Which means the next one we get next year will be the extension from Advanced Warfare. Which is kind of crazy. Just the idea that these games are coming regardless if you want them. So then it begs the question, is there enough series fatigue for us to want to go away from it, or will people still pick it up because they always do? Like, look at the sales of this game. This game sold amazingly well, and it still did half the numbers that it usually would make because of just the massive backlash from the COD 4 situation and the whole move into space. By the way, guys, this is the tricky sequence. There's a ton of robots coming this way. I recommend using the shot grenades to thin the herd as quickly as you can, then move back into this corner. I've never ever been hit in this corner in the 3 times I've done this, except for on the recording. For some reason, these robots came straight for me instead of the NPCs, and it meant that I had to jump away and put myself in a bad spot. There's 2 NPCs there that the robots seem to always go for, and on this run, they didn't do it. So this is actually a decent run in my opinion, because it shows you what can happen if the game doesn't go your way. So be aware that you can still get quite vulnerable there, but the double jump will save you, the shotgun will save you further still, and all you have to do is make it to that shuttle, and that's the end of the mission, guys. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.